Hello guys and welcome back to another video. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to have you here and I'm so happy that you're here tuning in again for another video. Before I start, I just want to say my last video that I posted did very well, better than some of my other videos, and I'm pleasantly surprised and so thankful and grateful for every single person that commented, that liked, that subscribed. I'm thankful for the different perspectives, the different opinions, for the pushback, for the criticism. I'm so open to literally people challenging me and for us to have nuanced, productive conversations. I think that we need to be more comfortable having uncomfortable conversations and disagreeing with one another. And I saw that a lot in the comment sections, which was really pleasant. And hopefully, I want you guys to keep in mind as I make more videos like this, I am not perfect. I will never be, and I'm always trying my best to be as biblical as possible and to communicate my opinions and my thoughts in the most kindest, clearest, but honest ways as possible. So just keep that in mind as I make more videos like this in the future, on my podcast, on everything. But enough of that. Now let's move on to the topic of this video. If you're Christian, then you're most definitely on the Christian side of YouTube. And if you're on the Christian side of YouTube, then you would know that there is a plethora of dating, Christian, marriage, singleness content out there. There is so much of it. And one thing that I've noticed is that the content that usually goes the most viral, the content that is popular or that is eye captivating, are those testimonial videos. And not just any testimonial videos. The testimonial videos I'm talking about, I know that you know exactly what I'm talking about, is those ones where it's like, we got married in 2 months, or he proposed in 6 months, or we got married, dated, all that stuff under a month, crazy stuff like that. And those testimony videos, of course, they're going to attract a lot of viewers because it sounds insane, but they're also very honestly interesting and inspiring. It's a reminder for people that are like me, that are in their early 20s, or people that are whatever age that you are in, that God can perform miraculous things in our loves lives, in our dating, in marriages, in singleness. Nothing is impossible for him. And if you are called to be married, if you are supposed to be in a relationship, then it will happen. Nothing will stop him. And so I myself love those videos. I have watched so many of those videos, and every single time I'm like, wow, God, you are great. You are amazing. And I pray to have, I don't know, a crazy testimony like that. Okay, maybe not in a month or two, but I want a testimony where you can say that's really God and he gets the glory. However, after watching a lot of those videos, you guys know, nothing is perfect. Nothing is, void of criticism or critical thinking or nuance. And I've noticed that there were some little elements of all these videos that were kind of weird, like a little bit weird. And yes, we're Christians. We're supposed to be set apart. We're the salt and the light of the world. So of course, our ways are always going to look weird to the world. But as a Christian myself, I was like, some of these things that we're doing in dating is, I don't think, So in this video, I want to talk about some of the flaws of Christian dating. And I'm saying this from what I've observed. I haven't dated myself. And I just want to put emphasis on some. I think Christian dating is beautiful. I wouldn't want to date any other way. But like I said, I'm just here to add some food for thought. So the first thing that I want to talk about is this idea that God speaks to us directly about marriage. Now, don't get me wrong. God is alive. He's breathing. He's moving. He's in our midst. He's among us. God speaks to us directly today about anything and everything, not just marriage. There have been examples in the Bible where God clearly makes a call to someone or another person to get married, to look for a wife, to look for a spouse. But I think that confusion and double-mindedness can arise when we expect a clear call, like a clear yes or no, or a clear go from God when it comes to marriage, relationships, and dating. I say confusion and double-mindedness because you can hear from God, you can feel a call from God, and then it not happen in the timing that you expected or in the way that you wanted it. And then there's this whole doubt that comes in. But this doubt that you're experiencing may not even have been because God told you, but because you might have felt it coming from your own feelings. Sometimes our own feelings can get in the way and we can have an impression that we hear from God when it's really not. Like, did God speak to you directly about marriage or this person that you want to date? Or is it really just your desire to get married? Is it really just because you want to get married? And the thing is, that's perfectly fine. that's perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to get married. There's nothing wrong with having that desire. That is a God-given desire. Obviously, God literally created marriage. He wants us to get married if that's his will. And I think that this is important that it is my first point, because this will kind of build a good basis for everything else I'm going to say. Being called to marriage or getting married is partially part of God's mysterious will. I know some people that have been faithfully serving the Lord for years and years and years, and they've desired marriage, and they've even been prophesied over that they're going to get married, and yet they're still not married. And I know some people that, let's say, have recently given their lives to God and are new baby Christians, and they meet their husband and they get married. In both cases, did they seek the Lord? Did they hear from him directly? Maybe, maybe not. But nonetheless, it is truly just part of God's sovereign plan and will. And sometimes we need to be comfortable and okay with not necessarily hearing directly from God and just trusting him and what he's doing in our lives. Now, moving on to the second point. The second thing that I noticed was an overemphasization of a lack of attraction. Ooh, fancy. And I haven't just heard this in testimonial videos, but also personal testimonies that I've heard of people that I know personally. Sometimes when I hear people talk about their marriage testimony and how they met their spouse, sometimes there's such an emphasis on the fact that there was no initial attraction, physical attraction, and that they were simply just doing spiritual things like reading the Bible, praying together, listening to worship music, whatever it may be. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. It can truly happen that way. Sometimes you meet someone, you're not initially attracted to them physically, whatever, and maybe you're not initially interested, but then that grows over time. But sometimes hearing these testimonies, there is such an emphasis on the fact that they did not find each other attractive. Like there was no attraction. We were just, seeking the Lord. We were just reading the word together. We were just like brothers and sisters in Christ. As if a lack of attraction makes them more righteous or Christian of some sort. I think that this can unwillingly convey the message that simple attraction and desire and passion is less godly. And I'm not saying that people are doing this purposely. I'm just saying that that is the unintentional communication. And I can't even blame people that do say this. There is, purity culture is a huge thing. I mean, it used to be a huge thing. I don't know if it's a huge thing now, but purity culture has widely affected the church. And so I understand why we want to do this and put so much emphasis on the person's character and their relationship with God and your relationship with God and how there was no attraction. We did not find each other attractive. I think that the most important part of an individual that you do want to be in a relationship with is their character, is their walk with God, is their relationship with God. And we sometimes want to divert the attention from the physical attraction because we don't want to fall into lust. We don't want to stumble. But then I find that we're swinging on the other side of the pendulum and we're not even allowing ourselves to have a good, godly, natural attraction to someone that we like. There is this weird, and guys, maybe I'm the weird one, but there is this weird uncomfortability that I see in Christians who are just not, that are afraid to just admit that they find someone incredibly hot. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh my gosh. And you know why there's nothing wrong with that? Because in the Bible, there's this amazing book called Songs of Solomon. It's a whole book about love, sensuality, sexual intimacy, and it's a book that has no religious connotation, genuinely. Like if you were to find this book, just a simple book of Songs of Solomon outside of the Bible somewhere, you would not think that this is supposed to be in the Bible. It's a passionate love story between two people pursuing one another, and I've read the whole Bible a couple times, but I've only read that book once because once was enough. Once was enough. So obviously, sensuality, sexuality, passion, sexual desire is perfectly fine, normal, and godly, and encouraged. It's encouraged in the don't get me wrong, in the covenant of marriage, it is fun and great to explore, but it's perfectly fine to also feel. Whenever I read the Bible, I love to read commentaries. Unfortunately, I'm broke, so I cannot buy any commentaries, but there is a free commentary that I love and I refer to in almost every single one of my podcast episodes where I talk about in greater depth about Bible scriptures and stuff, and that is the Enduring Word commentary. And as I was reading the first chapter of Songs of Solomon, I was going through the commentaries and I read this little excerpt here, and it's so good, and I want to read it so that you guys can also receive the wisdom. So it says, Over hundreds and hundreds of years in Christianity, the dominant view was that sexual passion and true spirituality were contradictory and opposed to each other. This idea that for the truly spiritual, sexuality was repressed led to a greater emphasis on the idea that we are to be passionately devoted to Jesus Christ as a superior replacement of our sexual desire. That's too good. That's too good. And reading this was honestly it was very comforting. We don't talk about sexuality in a godly perspective enough in the church, and especially for single people. I think that sexuality and all that stuff is talked a lot in marriage, which would make sense because that's where you're exploring things. But as a single woman, and I'm sure a lot of single people out there too that are watching and listening, we don't talk about it. The only thing that we talk about is just wait until marriage. As if we're not human beings who have a biology and feel those desires right now. When you meet that person that you're attracted with, that you want to court, that you want to date, and that you want to eventually lead to marriage, you have to almost like convince yourself, oh no, like, yeah, they're cute, but like, I love their character more. I love their passion for the Lord more and all these different things. Until the marriage bed comes, now you have to be suddenly, you have to let it all out. You can say that that person is so incredibly attractive and you are attracted to that person. You're honoring the fact that they're wonderfully and fearfully made in God's image. You can have a crush. That is normal. You can feel desire and passion for someone that you're not married to. That is normal. Like, it's perfectly fine and normal, and we really should not shame people or give this illusion that because you don't care for those things, you're more godly or more righteous in some way. I want to read a passage in Psalm of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 2, and it says, "Let him kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is better than wine." So this passage here is coming from the woman here. She's the one speaking, and the enduring word commentary says, "This is undeniable a strong woman who happens to do most of the talking through the songs of Solomon. Nearly twice as many verses are from her lips than from his. There is nothing here of the aggressive male and the reluctant or victimized female. They are one in their desires because their desires are God-given. Her desires to want to be kissed is God-given." Now, I know I'm kind of going into like a lot right here. I know I've opened up a can of worms here, and you guys can discuss more in the comments if you want to. This is where I'm going to stop for the second point, but it's okay to just be like, no, I found them super attractive and they're a Christian. I could talk about this for hours, and there's so many different things that you can talk about, so many angles, so many things. And I would love to make maybe a separate video about sexuality and Christian sexuality from a single woman, but this is where I'm going to stop for this second point. Something else I found very interesting, and this is in nearly every single testimonial video that you could probably find out there, is that there's an over-spiritualization of dating in general. Not just in hearing clearly God say that this is your spouse, but just the whole entire process of dating is so over-spiritual. And I know that this is coming from a good place because we want God to be in the midst of us dating. We want God to be in the midst of the hangouts and the talking stage and all these different things. And God can give us dreams and visions and confirmations and all these different things. It's true. I've seen those testimonies actually play out where someone received a dream and then the dream came to pass and now they're married and they have beautiful children. I know that we don't want to make the wrong choice. I know that we don't want to make the wrong decisions. We want to be in God's will. We want to be living in God's plan, and that's why we're depending on Him, and that's why we want these visions and these dreams and all these different confirmations. But I think it's so important for us to understand that God has also given us wisdom. God has given us wisdom through His scriptures to make good decisions. God gives us the choice to make choices. God gives us the free will to make choices for good and bad. But because of His word and His scriptures, then we can lean into His will. We can make choices according to things that please Him. His revealed will has already been revealed in scripture. And so all throughout scripture, you see that there's characteristics of a godly man and a godly woman that you would obviously want to be in a marriage covenant with. So when you are with that person and when you are talking to this person, do you see those godly characteristics? Do you guys get along? Do you guys have fun? Can you guys talk for long periods of time without things getting super awkward? Can you guys sit in silence? Are you guys attracted to one another? If all those boxes check, then it's most definitely probably in God's will. You don't need to necessarily hear a clear yes or no from God. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. That's truly what I believe. I heard this story one time from a pastor, and he said how when he met his wife, he kept seeking the Lord and praying and praying and praying for God to give him confirmation, to hear something from God. And he was talking to one of his friends, and he said how, or I think one of his mentors, and he said how he wasn't hearing anything from God. And his friend goes, well, is she a godly woman? He goes, yes. Do you guys get along? Yes. Do you like her? Are you guys attracted to each other? Yes. Then he says, then what's the problem? Get married. Like, why do you feel the need to hear directly from the Lord? If all those boxes are checking, then why would it not be in God's will? And I want to put so much emphasis on this because I know people personally, like literally, I have talked to someone just a few weeks ago, not even, maybe 2 weeks ago, that was seeking and praying and asking the Lord for a clear yes or no before they've even started talking. Before they even started talking. They weren't even talking. And I think that leaning too much on dreams and visions and all these spiritual things can be deceiving, because I know people that have had dreams about a guy that they had been praying for, that they were interested in, and it led them in really abusive and toxic, really bad relationships that were clearly not God's will. Sometimes even our dreams and these visions that we can experience may not even come from God, but they may come from our own desires. If you like someone, you're constantly thinking of them. It's inevitable that you're going to dream about them, and that doesn't necessarily mean that that is a dream from God and God is calling you to marry this person. Guys, I have so many testimonies personally, and they're actually very embarrassing. Like, I thought someone was my husband at some point, and it wasn't my husband, and we're gonna talk about it. We're not gonna talk about it. Maybe one day I'll make a testimony video about that, because it's embarrassing. Oh my gosh. And so how do you discern, how do you know ultimately? Well, I think ultimately if it does happen, then you can be assured that that was truly from God, if it truly does happen. And also if you look at the fruit of it, let's say it does happen, then you end up in an abusive or really toxic relationship, then you can probably be sure that that wasn't from God. And if it doesn't happen at all, well, now you know it's definitely not from God. If that person you had a dream about ends up getting engaged, that was not from God. Sorry to tell you, babe. I'm gonna hold your hand when I tell you this. That was not from God. And lastly, my final point, and this one's a big one. Why are we moving at the speed of light? Why are we literally racing with Sonic right now? What are we doing? What are we doing? Guys, I'm getting triggered. Okay, the most common pattern in all of these testimonial videos and some personal testimonies that I know myself personally, that I've witnessed with my own two eyes, is that people move so fast. People move so fast. Things progress so quickly. And here you go. Here's the nuance, y'all. That's the word of this channel, nuance. Here's a nuance. Like, yes, sometimes, some people get married very quickly and then they're married for years. Some people get married in like literally 3 months, 2 months, a month, and they're married for years, and it's great and they have a wonderful marriage. I'm not saying that's not possible, but I'm saying you don't know someone after a month of talking to them. You don't know them, and then you want to get married to them? A covenant for life? I think we need to have a bit more patience. And like, I can understand, because I know some testimonies. Dang, I know a lot of testimonies, but I know some testimonies where both partners, they've heard from God personally, and they both know that this is their person. They both are gonna get married. They know like it's real, like they're gonna get married. And so to them, the whole point is, why delay it? If we know that we're gonna get married, if we know that we're meant for each other, if you know that this is God's will, everything's checking the boxes, we met our families, everything's good, then why delay it? Why delay the process? Let's just go into it. Okay, fine, fair enough. I think that makes sense. That makes sense. And then, to be honest with you, I think, and we have to be honest, guys, I think some couples get married very quickly, not always for the right reasons. Like we talked about earlier, we are sexual beings, and I think that some of them get married just because they want to be in that marriage bed. And I think that sometimes our intentions to get married fast, right? Our intentions to get married fast are not always for the right reasons. And if we do it for the wrong reasons, then that can come with a buttload of challenges. In speeding the courting, dating, talking process where you're truly getting to know someone and evaluating this someone can come with so many challenges. Like I mentioned before, you don't really know this person. You truly don't know someone, like in a month or two, or I would even say 6 months, like depending on how much you talk about each other and how much you unveil of each other. But not only that, but you could be driven by infatuation. Infatuation can last from 6 months up to a year. So when you're still in that honeymoon phase, when you're initially meeting someone, you're so excited, you were attracted, you're like, oh my gosh, you're still in that phase. And I think it's honestly very like risky to make such a big commitment when you're seeing when you have rose colored glasses on. That was only some flaws of Christian dating. I think Christian dating is great. It's beautiful. But these four things that I mentioned, honestly, I think we need to do a little bit less of. But I think most importantly, we need to seek the Lord first above anything else. We need to love the Lord more than anything else. We need to be content in Him more than anything else. We need to desire Him more than anything else. We need to seek first His kingdom, and then everything else will be added. And a little bonus, shoot your shot. Like, if people were to communicate and just be like, hey, I'm interested, I like you, half of the problems that we face maybe wouldn't be happening. Like, half of the miscommunication, half of the idleness, half of the people being single in the church, if people would just communicate their interests with one another. That's it for this video. I don't know, I feel like it was pretty short. Like, I talk a lot, but today it was just a little cute video. And I have so many other thoughts on dating and relationships and all these things, guys. God has taken me through such a journey when it comes to changing my heart, when it comes to this area of my life, and speaking to me and revealing things to me and convicting me. And I have so much to talk about. And if you guys want to hear more, then I would love to make videos on it. So let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, share with whoever wants to hear it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! I once knew someone who told me that I was his wife after 3 days of us knowing each other. 3 days. We weren't romantically involved. We weren't talking. We were just acquainted. And he told me that God told him that I was his wife. You can imagine that ruined the friendship. And now he's no longer a Christian. So, guys, let's stop doing that. Please, stop doing that.